Hello, California, and welcome to this week's edition of Your Financial Compass, the show that's dedicated to helping you successfully navigate to and through your retirement. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio, we have Chris Bulman. He is the founder and a financial advisor at Bulman Wealth Group, and Scott Vlahon, financial advisor. Chris, Scott, my friends, always a joy to see you. What's going on in your world this week?
Well, that's more a question for Chris because there's 3 cameras in here. We're trying to coach him on which one to look at. Right now, we're looking at that one.
Say hi.
It's your turn.
Right.
Cue Chris. So,
if you would like to abuse your financial advisor, join my team.
Right. Oh, man. Well, you guys like to have a lot of fun, clearly, and you have a great working relationship, and we always have a great time on this show. And the reality is, though, we also have to talk about some serious subjects. And today, we're going to be talking about some of the most common worries and concerns that we see people are having as they approach, enter, and are in retirement, because we want to alleviate those concerns. One of the things I love, you guys always talk about, you ask people, what's keeping you up at night?
Right.
What's causing anxiety, and your job and your desire is to help alleviate that stress and anxiety. I want to present a couple recent surveys and studies that talk about this very issue. An article recently came out that said when it comes to retirement readiness, many Americans are feeling disillusioned, and a Gallup poll showed that only 43% of non-retired adults expect to be able to live out their golden years comfortably. That's really sad. That's tragic, and that's what you're working to fix. That's the lowest figure that we have seen since 2012, and I think the recent events in our world have really, caused more anxiety and concern, of course. But let's start by talking about the most common worry, which is the fear of outliving your money. You see this a lot, don't you?
yeah.
I wanted to catch him. I wanted to catch him off guard. Oh, that was good.
Ain't gonna happen.
So, it's interesting because we spend a lot of our lives, right, as we're in our earnings and saving investment years, worrying about money. Mm-hmm. Can we afford this mortgage? Can we afford a bigger mortgage? Can we raise our kids? And then we sort of get over that hump and we finally get into our high earnings years, maybe in late 40s, 50s. And then we have new worries. Mm-hmm. Now we're earning money. We're not worried about today as much, but now we're worried about the future. Are we going to have money for the future? Are we going to outlive our retirement income? Mm-hmm. And those are normal worries, normal concerns that people have, and they bring to us, put them on the table. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so important really to sit down with someone to map it out and understand if there is something to be worried about and how can we begin to adjust that. Or maybe even better to understand there's not something to worry about and we can continue to enjoy.
Because how often do you find that that's the case, that folks might be worried or concerned about it because they've never done the planning process, but then when they come and meet with you and do this process, they realize, oh, I'm actually going to be okay?
Yeah, we have several folks who we worked with over the years where they come in, I'm going to have to work forever, and then it's true in some cases, but a lot of them it's not, where you sit down and to actually put the pieces together. They've done such a good job of saving, they've never actually, how does all of this fit together? And that's part of what a plan does is, well, it shows us, hey, we're on track, removes that fear.
Right.
Or if we're not, we can begin to find out where the blind spots are. Hey, maybe we're missing here. Maybe you need to work 2 more years. I know you don't want to hear that, but it can amplify both of those for us. But, because we don't always want to just talk about the problems.
Right.
Running out of money and the fear of that. So, as we said, a plan helps with that. But then it's like, well, how do we make up income? I've saved all this money. Sometimes there's tools where we can take that money and turn it into a pension. Maybe you're not a state worker or something, you don't have a pension, but you'd like one. There's ways to create it with annuities, if that makes sense. As Chris has referenced in previous shows, the bucket approach. Money, each source of money fits into a different bucket for a different reason. So sometimes just taking a step back and looking at it from that angle can help. And no one likes to do a budget, but it really helps. Just to have an idea.
There's so much negative connotation around budgeting, but I like to think of it as it's a very empowering thing because once you know what you have and what you're working with and where your money is going, then you are empowered to tell your money where you want it to go. Because to your point, money has jobs to do in our lives, and it's putting the right money in the right place to do the right job, right?
That's right. And, it comes back to, we call it safety income growth. And when we're talking about the income, as we said with budget, what money fits there? Maybe we have Social Security, maybe we have a pension, and that's coming in. Say we need $5,000 a month, those 2 streams build up or make up 3. Well, now we have a gap of 2. Where do we come from to build in, create, or fill in that gap?
Right.
But then extra concerns come about where in 2022, the dreaded I word came out, and I joke, it's not the IRS this time, dreaded I word, it was inflation, which has always been there.
Right.
But inflation was so off the charts last year, and it just became such more of a household thing where a lot of folks that were maybe had been retired for years, like, oh my gosh, maybe it's time to sit back down and reevaluate because life is a lot more expensive than I remember. So that's another concern that comes in with running out of money is, my money's not getting me as much.
Right.
So how do I plan for that?
Yeah, and if I could just add on to that too, things change, right? As you have all this massive inflation and then the interest rates are going up, still every single day people come in to see us and they're sitting in bank accounts, checking accounts, money market accounts earning 0.01%. All you have to do is move it from one account to the other and you get 5%. But people don't know that. And so this is why it's so important to be working with a financial advisor. Make sure you're in touch with your financial advisor. Make sure you hear from them because you need to know what's happening. And we do this every day, all day. And I mean, just a simple change like that, it doesn't even have to come to us to invest, and you can get 5% versus 0%. And it's actually comical when you look at, we have some great websites that we can take our clients to that we show them the bank they're at compared to the other banks, and it's right there. And a lot of times they'll just go ahead that day and move the money to the better account.
Lots go into this for sure. And I think that inflation, you know, the reason that compounds that concern about outliving your money is because the cost of living doubles, you know, every so often, right? And with inflation being higher, that window of time got shorter. So I know that this is something you're passionate about doing, is helping eliminate that worry. So what would you say to someone who's out there going, yeah, I can relate to this. I'm concerned about outliving my money. What would you say to them?
Well, A, you're not alone. There's several folks. I mean, the majority of folks have that fear. So if that is you, you're one of those high percentage of people, then you can call the number. We can have a conversation. We'll have a discovery meeting to find out more about you, and we'll actually listen to your concerns and then kind of, as Chris said, kind of share some tactics, strategies, and maybe get to a point of working together. But it can't get to that point unless you call. And the only thing you're obligated to do is call the number, schedule a time, and then we'll talk and see where it leads us. But there's no point sitting around anymore waiting, well, you know, inflation will drop, or I won't run out of money, or I'll get to it in in a different year. Why would you wait? Just do it now, and we can kind of be that first place to start.
Absolutely. Well, Scott, Chris, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call to get your very own complimentary financial compass review from Chris and Scott and the team at Bulman Wealth. It's really simple. All you need to do is just call that number on the bottom of your screen, 888-970-4685. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. You simply open up that camera app. You can point, click, and scan that QR code down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team from Bulman Wealth Group will reach out to connect with you to schedule your complimentary meeting that way as well. When we come back, we're going to be diving into some of the more common retirement worries and concerns that folks have and solutions that Chris and Scott can pose to help alleviate them. Stay with us.
Successful retirement to me is someone who doesn't have to worry about where their next paycheck's going to come from, where the income's going to come from. Are they going to run out of income? Are they going to run out of money? Are they going to meet their financial goals with respect to maybe they want to leave money to their children? Maybe they want to leave money to a philanthropy or a university. Solving all those issues is what a secure retirement looks like.
Being able to wake up and know the day is an open slate and not having to worry about things. Or say someone's going on a trip with family, they're going to the beach, and if the headline says, the market's down again or something, they're not concerned. Bulman Wealth has my back here. We've got a plan in place. My portfolio is set up in a way that concern is not there. The plan and finances should not be the concern once they get to that stage of working with us and entering into retirement.
Wait, what?
Well, welcome back, California. You're watching Your Financial Compass, brought to you by the team of Bulman Wealth Group. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with both Chris Bulman and Scott Vlahon. And we are talking today about common retirement worries and concerns because we want to alleviate those for you. So we talked in the first segment about a very common fear that so many folks have, the fear of running out of money in retirement. You know, worries often change as we age, and you referenced this already, Chris. So what would be something that you find is a common worry, you know, later on in someone's retirement?
Since you are older than me, you should probably answer this.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about the sequence, of this getting shorter.
Yes.
I saw the doctor last week. I'm 2 inches shorter than I was 3 years ago.
Whew.
So this is what happens when you're
Time to hit the
an
gym
aging
again.
male.
Lengthen that spine, right?
Thanks for reminding me, Scott. Yeah. So, I mean, some of the things that we talk about to combat inflation and just staying up with, the cost of everything over time and making sure that we don't run out of money is, number one, paying attention. Invest some of your time in your financial plan and watching and making sure that we're invested. When there is an opportunity to get better rates, even on your cash, even on your checking or savings or money market, make sure we're taking advantage of those things. Make sure that we understand our risk tolerance. So if our risk tolerance says that, we really don't like any risk, well, we need to understand what that means with respect to inflation. Because if you don't like any risk and you leave it in the checking account, everything gets more expensive every year. You're losing purchasing power. So it's purchase power risk.
Yep.
If you put it all into a 10-year bond, you have inflation, or you have interest rate risk, where you're locking it up for a certain interest rate, and if interest rates go up, now you're, in a bad position there.
Right.
So when you understand all the different types of risk, understand diversification, how investments work together, you don't have to go out and try to get a 12% net after-tax return every year and take the risk that comes with that. But we do want to try to stay ahead of inflation, and we need to understand what investments are available to stay ahead of inflation.
Yep, absolutely. Well, obviously, another concern that can pop up is medical costs, healthcare. Studies have shown that a couple that reaches the age of 65 today could potentially spend over $250,000 beyond that in their retirement years on healthcare alone. So what kind of things do you recommend for folks to help mitigate that worry? Because none of us know what's going to happen, right? The older we get.
Yeah, Chris didn't know he's going to shrink, apparently.
Right.
Believe it or not, invest in a gym. Go to the gym. Go to the Y. Go to the whatever gym it is, 24-hour fitness, CalFit. Play pickleball. Stay active. Money aside, obviously it costs money to do these things, but just stay active. And that really is going to help reduce the cost. But that aside, things like HSAs, health savings accounts, I think are kind of misunderstood. And the way those work is you can save money in a certain amount each year. You can invest that money. So you get if you put money in, it reduces your taxable income. So you get a tax break on the front end. And then if you use that money on a medical expense, it can be used tax-free. So you get dual power. California, shockingly, does not honor it. You can't write off California taxes, just on a federal level, but it's a way to set money aside and get tax advantage on both ends as long as you use it for medical. One caveat, though, is once you file for Medicare, can't do an HSA. Okay. So this is prior to starting Medicare, but a lot of folks don't tap into the HSAs and then leading into long-term care, too.
But can you, from the money you have saved up over your working career with the HSA, can you use that once you're in Medicare for any medical expenses?
Yeah, you just can't put new money aside.
You can't put new money in. So you could save it, for years.
Absolutely.
And then that can help fund it later on.
Well, that's the thing. And say you're 55, 10 years away from Medicare age, and you haven't started an HSA, look into it because you can start setting it aside. You can invest that money like regular investment, and it can grow, and you get all those tax savings too. So what I should have said is once you hit Medicare age, you can't add more money to it.
Right.
You can use whatever you've already saved.
Right. Yep. And that's super helpful. What about life insurance as well, and how does that play into potentially using that as a vehicle to save for healthcare costs?
Yeah, I mean, life insurance. Life insurance is the one investment outside of a Roth or a HSA that can grow tax-free, the tax dollars inside of it. So you can use that money tax-free to pay for things. You can also, you can take income stream from it. A lot of the long-term care insurance policies now are hybrid policies. So in the past, long-term care, if our listeners have those, they've seen the cost just continue to
skyrocket.
Escalate. Skyrocket's a better word. And sometimes it becomes too expensive to even keep, so they end up dropping the policy after paying into it for 20 years or so.
Right.
And so now what life insurance companies, I think, have decided over the past several years are we're going to pay out a death benefit anyway. So we can go ahead and sort of make a hybrid product. And if you want to have long-term care so that, you know, the stats are 70% of people in California are going to need some sort of long-term care. And only about 7% of people have coverage to pay for that. And so if you want to take care of that sort of future bump in the road, you can actually buy a life insurance policy that you can either use the cash for income at some point, or if you get into a long-term care situation, it will pay you out the death benefit while you're in long-term care. Or if neither one of those two things happen, it pays out the regular death benefit tax-free. So it's a great way to sort of, you know, strategize and hit that need that you need to hit without paying for something. Because let's face it, none of us like paying auto insurance because we think we're never going to crash, you know, or house insurance, we're never going to. Although a lot of houses in California seem to burn lately. But we don't like paying for something that we think we're never going to use. With the life insurance hybrid long-term care, you're going to use it one way or the other. I guarantee, you know, we'll die someday. So it's going to pay out.
None of us are getting out of this life alive, right?
Yeah, that's right.
As one of my aging friends loves to remind me. But, you know, on that note, that brings up another serious concern, and that is the death of a spouse or, you know, a partner in life. So talk about that concern and what things can be done on the front end to help that. I mean, it's never pleasant. It's not fun to think about. But there's some serious consequences if the right planning has not been put in place.
Yeah, so a few of the things, obviously with the emotional toil of that, but then from the financial end of it, assume you're both collecting Social Security. Once someone passes away, one of the spouses, well, then you're missing out on one of those Social Security amounts. The survivor will get the higher of the two, so that's one nice caveat, I suppose, but your income will drop in that regard. You think of things on a tax end. When, you know, at least under the current tax structure, the standard deductions for married couples considerably higher than for a single person, so you're going to lose out on that tax deduction. So part of what we can do during our planning while both people are still alive is run different what-ifs to see, like, how much would things dramatically alter if one of those incomes is gone. And it generally, it's not going to be as dramatic as you thought if you plan for it. And we can work that into a plan as a scenario, as a kind of what-if scenario to see, hey, you're still going to be okay. And that adds so much peace of mind because, as you said, it's inevitable that it's going to happen.
Yeah, and I just, you know, the whole idea of a GoFundMe page, I think, has substituted for life insurance for a lot of people because they just hadn't planned in advance. And I hate to see that. I'm glad that, you know, other people chip in and help with funeral costs and things, but a GoFundMe page is not the answer to, you know, a premature death. And so one of the things when we're building these comprehensive financial plans, it's always fun to build them and say, well, you're going to make $200,000 and you're going to make $175,000 a year, and we get bonuses, and we're going to work 20 more years or 10 more years, and we're going to, you know, have $8 million and, you know, live a great retirement. But what if something happens tomorrow? What if the $250,000 earner doesn't come home tomorrow? What if you have a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home father that doesn't live past tomorrow? That's a cost. And so we have to, if it's a working spouse that passes away, we want to have something that's going to replace that income, which is, you know, we can put life insurance in place. That way your plan works if you both live to 95, and if one of you doesn't live that long, the life insurance kicks in, replaces that income, replaces that 20 years that you would have been saving and investing, and just gets it there right away, so that the family can still live the way that, you know, they had always wanted to live.
For sure. And, you know, it's really important. It's never too early to start that process. The average age of widowhood is now 59 years old, which might seem really young. I have several people that I know in my circle that have unexpectedly lost their husbands, and the tax planning piece as well is really critical because, to your point, not only do you lose that standard deduction, but now you're in a higher tax bracket. So you're dealing with less income, but you're going to be hit more with taxes. So I love that you all are proactively helping people plan for the what if, because we don't want to think about it happening, but there's nothing worse when you're grieving. That is not the time on top of everything else that you want to have to wade through a financial mess and nightmare that's been dumped in your lap. So what would you say to folks out there that are going, you know what, I need to start this process?
Well, you already said it. It's like if don't wait until the bad thing happens. Don't let that be the catalyst. and that's the case in many instances. It's so much easier to make these plans. It might not be fun conversations, but it's a lot easier to make these plans when both people are there, when we're clear of mind, when things are going smooth, because you're going to be so much more thankful for it when it does happen. So if you're at home thinking, I'm going to put it off, or a different year, what have you, I'll wait. Don't wait. Pick a time, call the number below, schedule a time, and we can walk through these different fears and talk it through it, show some solutions, and really, people want peace of mind. This is the first step towards that.
Absolutely. Well, Scott and Chris, I know that you provide a very compassionate place for folks to have these difficult conversations. And if you are wanting a partner to help you navigate through all of this, it's very simple. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call that number on the bottom of your screen, 888-970-4685. Or again, you're also welcome to scan that QR code down in the bottom right-hand corner. That will just take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then someone will reach out and connect with you to schedule your complimentary financial compass review that way as well. You don't have to go through this alone. Calling costs you nothing. Not calling could cost you everything. So we encourage you, don't wait, pick up the phone and make that important phone call, and we'll be back right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to Your Financial Compass. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with Chris Bulman and Scott Vlahon from Bulman Wealth Group. We've been unpacking today a lot of the common worries and concerns that folks have as they are thinking through their retirement. And I know the last segment was a little bit of a downer, but of course we had to talk about that. That is so important. Let's talk about a retirement worry and concern that all folks have that affects everyone, no matter what age you are, no matter where you are in your life process. That's market volatility.
Well, Chris, if you would have asked him, he would have said aliens, which we haven't worked into a show in a while.
It's
So there we go.
an inside joke
Mission
if
accomplished.
you're new to us.
Chris loves aliens. So beyond aliens, one of the fears of the unknown is, as you said, market volatility. Because we always say this in these shows that our relationship to risk changes as we get older. And it's one thing, I'm 43. If the market drops, it stings. Okay, I'm going to be working for a while. If you're 63, 73, or beyond, it feels a lot different. So we don't want to take those dramatic drops or steps back in our portfolio, especially when we're pulling money from it.
Right.
Because then it's like a boat leaking from both ends if we're pulling money from it and the market's dropping. So understanding market volatility isn't going away. It's like a death tax is market volatility.
Right,
You just don't know the timing
The
of
markets only do one of two things, right? They go up and they go down.
Yeah. So just being aware of it, and are we taking the measures, which Chris will talk about, to help alleviate some of that unknown? We can't plan for it all, but certainly there are ways to combat it.
Yeah, I mean, really, we want to make sure that we have asset allocation that fits with our risk number, fits with the amount of money that we have, the amount of income that we need, the amount of budgeting and spending that we do. It all has to be set up accordingly. And so if we've got, $10 or $20 million and we only spend $4,000 a month, you've got a little bit of leeway. But sometimes people come in and we might have to pinch the budget down, take a little bit more risk or lock in some guaranteed income just to make sure that they never run out of money. But there's different levers you can pull. You have to look at the time horizon. Do we have 20 years? Do we have 30? Do we have 10? How much time do we have for it to grow before we have to take income? And then we have to make sure that we're paying attention to what's happening geopolitically, what's happening with the interest rate world. take advantage of little things as they come along. Moving money from potentially 401ks or 403bs or different retirement accounts. We have a lot of people now. We used to always have to, tell people, once you turn 59 and a half, here's some things we can do. You can roll that money out of your 401k into your IRA, so we have more choices. We can add more safety or more growth. And now people they're hearing it everywhere. So people are calling us saying, hey, can I move I'm 59 and a half. I want to move my money into the IRA.
Or even if you've left a previous place of employment. I mean, I've heard that the average worker out there has 5 old dormant accounts that are just floating around out there that they've left behind because a lot of people don't know what to do with them.
Yes.
So, that's huge.
And that's a good point. Diversification doesn't mean have accounts everywhere.
Right.
We're not collecting them.
Yeah, you don't want to collect different documents, but what you want to do is have them consolidated so that you can manage them in an efficient manner
and that money
see
can
everything
compound
together
on itself versus having, multiple.
And diversify within within that account.
And a lot less paperwork to get.
Oh, yes. And if anyone's worried and going, I don't know where to start, this is so easy. This is what you guys do day in, day out. I say it's easy, meaning you handling it makes it so easy. You're able to make the phone calls, handle the paperwork. All you have to do is just say, okay, this is what I want to do, and then you make it happen.
Yeah, and as you just referenced, it's always easier to put it off because that's probably what you've been doing, not to make you feel guilty about it, but
it's so common.
It's so common, and also it's common that you're going to have a fear. Everyone's fear is different. Everyone has a fear of running out of money, but there's all other fears that come up, be it health-wise, be it you're so deathly afraid of the market, or you think
fear
this might happen.
Unknown.
Fear of the unknown was the whole name of this segment. We've heard the fear. Over all the years that we've been doing this, we've heard it and seen it. There's nothing new under the sun that we haven't seen. So I say that to say it's probably an issue that would not be unfamiliar to us, and it would be familiar. So if that's you, maybe one of the concerns we didn't talk about today, but you still want to talk about it, call in and we'll have that discussion. And again, we've probably seen it before. So don't wait. It's easier to do that.
Yeah,
the hardest thing to do.
Scott, if someone is sitting there right now and saying, I haven't done a plan, these guys are going to judge me. If you haven't done a plan and you call us, you will be about the 700th person that we've met with that hasn't done a plan. So there's no judging. We all don't do a plan until we do one, and we would love to help.
Yeah.
I know today's show was focusing on retirement worries and concerns. You don't just ask people what keeps them up at night, you ask them what brings them joy, what gets you excited and wants you to wake up in the morning, because that's part of this process. It's planning for your dreams. It's telling you what you can do in retirement, not what you can't do. So to start your own financial planning journey, all you need to do is call that number on the bottom of your screen, 888-970-4685. Again, for no cost, no charge, no obligation. They would love to help and serve you. Thanks so much for watching. We look forward to being back with you next week.